It is somewhere past 3 in the morning and you are standing in the dark, swaying. Your baby is crying. Not the small, fussy cry you can read, but the long, climbing one that fills the whole room and somehow your whole chest at once. You have fed them. You have changed them. You have tried the bouncing, the shushing, the white noise, the slow walk down the hallway that you could do in your sleep, and some nights feel like you are. And still it goes on. And in that exhausted dark, a quiet thought surfaces that almost every parent has had and almost none will admit out loud. What is the secret nobody told me? Here is what nobody told you. There is a routine for this, a real one. Not folklore, not a product, but a sequence that was measured in a neuroscience lab in Japan, frame by frame, heartbeat by heartbeat. And it does not start with a trick. It starts with how an entire culture thinks about the simple act of holding a baby. Most parents in the West are never taught this, because the goal we quietly absorb is independence, and a crying baby starts to feel like a problem to be solved from across the room. The starting point common in many Japanese homes is different, and that difference is the whole video. There is a word used in many Japanese homes that does not translate cleanly into English, skinship. It is a blend of the English words skin and kinship, and it points at something we feel but never quite named, the bond that gets built through ordinary physical closeness. Being carried through the day, being bathed together in the evening, sleeping near each other in a formation parents there call kawa no ji, the shape of the character for river where the small body lies between two larger ones like the middle stroke. In many Japanese homes, an infant spends a large part of the day in direct contact with a parent's body, and this is not seen as the start of a clingy, dependent child. It is seen as the most ordinary thing in the world, the baseline a baby is biologically built to expect. And that single shift in expectation changes everything about how a crying baby is met. The crying is not read as a battle of wills, or a habit to be discouraged, or a test of whether the parent will give in. It is read as a body asking to be brought close, and the answer is simply to bring it close. Hold that thought, because the routine that calms a crying baby grows directly out of this one idea. Closeness is not the reward, it is the resting state. To understand why contact works so powerfully, you have to meet something hidden inside your baby's nervous system, something they did not learn, and you do not have to teach. Researchers call it the transport response. In 2013, a team led by the neuroscientist Kumi Kuroda at Japan's Riken Institute published work in the journal Current Biology, showing that when a mother carries her crying infant and begins to walk, the baby's body changes almost immediately. The crying settles, the heart rate slows. The small arms and legs stop their struggling and go still. And here's the part that tells you how deep this runs. They found the same reflex in mouse pups carried by their mothers. This is not a modern parenting hack. It is an ancient piece of biology written into mammals long before there were lullabies or cribs, a built-in signal that says, when you are being carried, you are being kept safe. So be still and let yourself be moved. Your baby is not choosing to calm down. Their body is answering a call that is older than language, and it makes a strange kind of sense when you think about where it came from. For the small creatures of the world, being lifted and carried is the moment of danger and rescue at once. A flight from a predator, a carry to safety. A struggling, crying infant would only make that escape harder. So evolution quietly solved it. Be carried, go still, go quiet, and trust the one who lifted you. Your baby still carries that ancient bargain in their body tonight. So contact calms, and carrying specifically calms more. But knowing that is not the same as knowing what to do at 3 in the morning. And this is exactly where the lab handed us something precise enough to use tonight. In 2022, Kuroda's group went further and published the actual routine, tested on real crying infants and tracked with monitors. When a baby is crying, walking while holding them, for roughly 5 minutes of steady, uninterrupted movement, brought many infants down out of crying into calm, and often the whole way into sleep. Not jostling, not frantic bouncing, not the desperate jiggle we all reach for when we are panicking. Just smooth, continuous walking, the exact rhythm the transport response is waiting for. Picture it with your own baby, You do not need to do anything clever or perform any trick. You hold them upright and secure against you, and you walk slowly and without stopping, and you let that old reflex do the work you have been trying so hard to force. But the routine has a second half, and this is the part almost everyone gets wrong, the counterintuitive turn that quietly decides whether the whole effort holds or collapses in a single instant. Think about what happens next. You have walked, the crying has stopped, the breathing has gone soft and even, and you feel that glorious, fragile heaviness settle as your baby finally, truly sleeps. So you do the natural thing, the thing your aching arms are begging you to do. You walk straight to the crib and lay them down. And their eyes snap open, and the crying starts again. And you could weep right there on the nursery floor. Here is what the same research found, and it should change how you do this forever. It is not the soothing that failed you, it is the timing of the put down. And there is a reason this small moment carries so much weight. In the first minutes of sleep, your baby is in a light, easily broken stage, and two things at the lay down jolt them straight out of it: the sudden loss of your warmth and heartbeat against them, and the change in body position as they tip from upright to flat. To a half-asleep newborn, that can register as being set down and left, the very thing the transport response was protecting against. The infants who were laid down the very moment they fell asleep were far more likely to wake right back up. The ones who stayed asleep had been held, sitting and still, for several more minutes after they dropped off, long enough to pass from light, easily broken sleep into a deeper, sturdier sleep before their back ever touched the mattress. So the real routine is not walk, then put down. It is walk until calm, then sit and hold the sleeping baby a little longer than feels necessary, until that heaviness becomes total, and only then lay them down, on their back, on a firm, flat surface, the way safe sleep guidance asks. That extra patience at the end is the whole difference between a baby who jolts awake and a baby who finally rests. And if you have been listening to all of this with a knot tightening in your stomach, a quiet voice asking whether you are holding your baby too much, whether all this carrying and closeness is teaching them to need you in a way that will spoil them and never let go, then this next part is the one that matters most of all. You cannot spoil a baby by answering them. The research points the other way entirely. Older work, including a classic 1986 study in the journal Pediatrics by Hunziker and Barr, found that simply carrying infants more, even at calm times when they were not crying at all, reduced how much they cried overall by close to half. Contact is not a prize you hand over for crying. It is a need you are meeting, as plainly as you meet hunger with food. And there is a word for this in Japanese, one that has been sitting quietly underneath everything we have talked about tonight: amae. It describes the sweet, trusting dependence of leaning fully on someone you love and knowing without a flicker of doubt that they will hold you. The warm certainty a child feels when they can completely rely on a parent. In many Japanese homes, amae is not a weakness to be trained out of a child as quickly as possible. It is understood as the very foundation of trust, something to honor rather than break. So when you carry your crying baby through the dark, you are not building a bad habit. You are answering a need they were born expecting you to answer. That is not spoiling. That is the relationship, working exactly as it was meant to. You will not get this right every single time, and you do not have to. Some nights the walking will not work, and the holding will not work, and you will lay them down too early because your arms are simply finished, and that is allowed. A baby's trust is not built in any one night. It is built in the pattern, in the thousands of ordinary times you came when they called, with the handful of times you could not folded harmlessly inside the hole. And if your baby's crying ever feels truly different or frightening, or you are worried about their health, that is always a conversation for your pediatrician, who knows your particular child in a way general guidance never can. So go back to that 3 a.m. room, the swaying, the dark, the long climbing cry. Nothing about that moment was ever a sign that you were failing. You were already doing the one thing your baby most needed, holding them close, and now you simply have the rhythm to go with it. Walk until calm, hold a little longer than feels necessary, then lay them gently down. The crying that felt like a problem to be solved was really an invitation all along. A small body asking to be brought back to the one place it already knows. You are not just the person who stops your baby's tears. To your baby, you are the safe place those tears were calling out for all along. If this gave you a little more calm for the next hard night, tell me in the comments which part you will try first. And if you want more of the quiet science of raising a secure, settled, deeply trusting child, subscribe and stay close.